Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedom and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country. In the courtrooms of America, Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedom.
We're back with Obamacare. Hi, I'm Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel. Joining me is Matt Barber, vice president of Liberty Counsel Action. And Matt, the Supreme Court gave an early Christmas present by agreeing with Liberty Counsel's petition for rehearing, granting our rehearing, and allowing us to have our full day in court, ordering that the case go back to the Federal Court of Appeals in Richmond, Virginia, where we can argue the underlying merits of the case, which includes the employer mandate. And we believe that it's unconstitutional across the board for both religious and secular employers. But also, if it is upheld by the Supreme Court, then it's also colliding with the free exercise of religion with respect to religious employers, as well as the individual mandate collides with the free exercise of religion for individuals because both require forced funding of abortion. So these are big issues. We'll be back before the Federal Court of Appeals, and then from there, back in 2013, likely on the way back to the United States Supreme Court.
Yeah, Matt, I mean, Liberty Counsel's case is the last best hope to, the noose, the Obamacare noose is tightening around the throats of the American people here, and where there are fewer and fewer options to derail this monstrosity. And it's been a whirlwind since the Supreme Court made its ruling. You've been doing Fox News interviews. It's been front page news all around the country, and rightly so, because there are fewer and fewer options here to undo this thing that is, not only fiscally and economically completely unsustainable. It will bankrupt America, but it's immoral on so many levels.
Yeah, no question about it. Liberty Counsel filed the very first private lawsuit on the very day that it was signed into law in March of 2013, and we represent Liberty University, which is the world's largest Christian university, and we represent private individuals as well. We argued then that violated the constitutional parameters with respect to the individual mandate and the employer mandate. We also raised the free exercise of religion issue with regards to the forced funding of abortion. So we went to the district court in Florida, in Lynchburg. From there, we went to the Federal Court of Appeals in Richmond, but that court ultimately didn't reach the underlying merits. Instead, it ruled that the so-called Federal Anti-Injunction Act, which applies only if it's a tax, applied in this case. Now, if it applies, then what they said is you have to first pay the tax before you can file suit, which in this case, the tax wouldn't actually be imposed until sometime after 2014. We asked the United States Supreme Court in 2011 to review that matter, and the Supreme Court ultimately placed our issue as the first day of the 3 days of oral argument before the High Court. And, of course, the court ultimately ruled in our favor in June, ruling that the Anti-Injunction Act did not apply to this particular law. But then they went, of course, and they upheld the individual mandate by a 5-4 decision under the so-called taxing and spending law. Now, there were other cases that were pending at the Supreme Court at the time that also had been going through the system, and they just denied all of those review, including our case, which was a surprise. So what they did this week, they should have done in June. They should have granted our petition because we were successful. They should have given us the day in court, which is what they've now done. So they have now done the right thing. Now,
but isn't it rare
for
the Supreme Court to do what they've done here?
The Supreme Court doesn't like to reverse their own decisions, and that's what they did in this case. They had to back off their own decision.
Can you read anything into that? Or
the thing that I think we can read into it is I think it's a big hope that there are people on the United States Supreme Court that want to and are interested in reconsidering this Obamacare case. And this case has some major issues that are there for reconsideration. We all know that the Federal Court of Appeals is not the final stop. Mm-hmm. It's certainly a stopping point on the way back to the United States Supreme Court. The final stop and the final word is going to be the U.S. Supreme Court. Right. If the Supreme Court justices felt that there was no reason to have this case reviewed, if they thought that they had no more interest in it, they could have easily denied our request, but they granted it. And that's a significant issue, I think.
Yeah, if you read the tea leaves, and again, with the Supreme Court, you can never make a prediction because I, frankly, admittedly, thought that that Obamacare was going to go down on the individual mandate, and I still believe to this day that it should have. But Matt, the issue that I think as we see in the news most frequently now, yes, the employer mandate is very, very important, but this abortion mandate and the contraceptive, the HHS mandate, don't we know that that's only going to ramp up? I fully expect Kathleen Sebelius to just come out and say unilaterally, Obamacare funds abortion as a matter of law. We're just going to insert that into Obamacare, which she has full authority under the legislation to do, correct?
She does. And in fact, here's our argument that the employer mandate across the board for secular and religious employers is unconstitutional because it exceeds the congressional authority under the Constitution. If we win on that argument, we don't have to even get to the free exercise of religion. The whole thing is gone. And if we strike the employer mandate, that guts Obamacare. It torpedoes it. It can't operate without the employer mandate effectively. But if the Supreme Court were to say, well, we're going to uphold it by a slim margin like they did as a tax like they did the individual mandate, which I think is improper, but assuming if they were to do that, then the next argument that we have, and this is the only argument that the other cases have, the other cases that have been filed were filed after the HHS mandate came out. Ours was filed before the mandate came out. We, when we filed the case, said Obamacare will fund abortion. Some people said, oh, we don't know that that's true. It may or may not. And we said, no, it's going to fund abortion. And so when the HHS mandate subsequently came out about 2 years later or so, actually a year and a half later, then finally people woke up and they started filing all these lawsuits under the HHS mandate. So our case predates that, and our case already foresaw this. So if we ultimately lose on gutting the employer mandate, then we go to the free exercise of religion. As it relates to religious employers, it's unconstitutional. Why? Because it forces Liberty University and other religious employers to fund abortion. Liberty University is the largest Christian university in the world. It has over 100,000 students, both online and residential. And as part of who Liberty is a Christian university. It's not tangential to the operation of the university. It is a Christian university, a distinctly Christian university. And part of that belief is life is sacred in the womb. God is the author of life, and we can't take the life of unborn children. Forcing Liberty University to fund abortion is forcing Liberty University to fund murder. And that is not something that's tangential to the mission of Liberty University. It's core. So in 2013, there will be a collision course between Liberty University and other religious employers and Obamacare. And there will be a choice that has to be made. What are you going to do? Our argument is that this clash is significant enough that the Supreme Court ought to strike it down.
Well, Matt, Timothy Dolan, Cardinal Timothy Dolan came out recently and reiterated a point they've been making all along. They have said that because of the abortion mandate, the abortifacient mandate, contraception, and so forth, he has said that we being the Catholics, this affects millions of Catholics, will not comply with this unjust law. Isn't this really setting up a clash between government and religious free exercise in a way that's unprecedented in American history? It seems so to me.
It is. Certainly I'm Protestant, but I've been speaking in some Catholic churches recently at the invitation of Roman Catholic leaders on this issue, which is unprecedented that would actually happen, where these different denominations of Catholics and Protestants and Jews are coming together opposing this Obamacare. Cardinal Dolan met with President Obama when he was the bishop, and he warned him, don't do this. This is a clash with religious freedom. Despite that warning, Obama did it anyway, and Kathleen Sebelius instituted this forced funding of abortion. This is not something in which, for example, you have a religious belief that has an inconvenient law that's an irritant. This is an either-or. Either you follow your religious belief, and you clash with Obamacare and pay the millions of dollars in fines for not following the abortion funding. Or you follow Obamacare and you collide with your religious beliefs. There's nothing in between. It is unprecedented. And the bishop, or now cardinal, has said the Roman Catholic Church will not comply. Liberty University also has that same issue coming up in 2013. What are we going to do? What are all these religious employers going to do? It's decision day in 2013. This issue is going to be front and center throughout 2013. The good news is that Liberty Counsel, on behalf of Liberty University and private individuals, has another day in court. This is huge. We had a prayer book, an Amici prayer book that we took to the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. And literally tens and tens of thousands of people signed that, praying for this case. We urge you to continue to pray for this case as we go back to the Court of Appeals and eventually to the United States Supreme Court. Without your prayers and financial support, Liberty Counsel wouldn't be able to exist. Go to Liberty Counsel's website, lc.org, or call us 1-800-671-1776. And remember Liberty Counsel, especially at this time, with your year-end contributions. God bless, and continue to keep this case in your prayers.
You have been listening to Faith and Freedom with Liberty Counsel. We hope that we have motivated you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedom. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email updates. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.